Welcome to Magnify with Sue, the podcast for people who've done everything they were told and still feel something's missing. I'm Sue Paulson. Every week, we look at what it takes to move from self doubt to self love, from fear to inner peace, from striving to be enough to remembering you already are. Because the truth is, you came in magnificent. The essence of you isn't out there. It's right here in your own heart. So let's go find it. Let's magnify. Welcome, everyone. Sue Paulson, your magnificence mentor, and we're here today on Magnify with Sue. As you know, on Magnify with Sue, we're all about exploring magnificence, what leads us to embrace more of it, and what can get in the way that we want to pay attention to and put our little magnifying glass on and make it bigger and easier to zero in on. As you can see, today I have a guest. So I'm just thrilled to introduce you to Karina Biernath, who is an author. She is a full-time mom. She has a fascinating story to tell. She originally came from Poland and moved to the States in, I believe, 1999, if I'm correct on that. And the journey that she's had with her life, we're going to explore more because I know she has all kinds of nuggets of wisdom for you, my listeners, that need to come out. And so that's what we're here doing today. So welcome, Karina, to Magnify with Sue.
Thank you so for having me. I am very thrilled to be
Lovely.
here.
Well, let's get right into it. We want to talk about your book today as well as what led up to that. So, the first question that I'm going to ask you, I'd like you to think about when you were growing up. So, what led you to believe that life was the way it was? So, when you think about your life, what was it that you discovered or believed about how your life was supposed to turn out?
I think I have a right answer. So by the time I was 20, I believed I was a very positive person and I also believe that the sign of being happy, it's me always smiling.
Ah,
It was the sign of being happy and I also believe that the biggest success in life is to be happy. I guess in my case would mean that, having always smile on my face, which by now I know it's not true. And also, like being a mom, having a husband, having a children. I didn't never dreamt of a big wedding, but I dreamt about having somebody next to me and create a wonderful family.
sure.
A lot of things most of us women want. Not all of us, but most of us.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so you got the husband, you got the family, and did it make you happy?
No.
Oops.
I came onto America, which was never my dream destination. I came here originally to learn English. Then I left to finish my education in Poland and came back already mindful, but this is where I want to start my next chapter of my life. And fulfilling of that dream, getting nice job, getting car, then finding the man I started to fulfill those dreams. And when I got that man, that child, seems like I lost myself in between. And also I tried to fit in. I felt that if I have my hair a certain way, more fitting to American standards, I'll be happier. But if I look certain way, dress certain way, I will be happier. So it was all about the outside, how I looked outside, though deep inside I knew, but really what's inside matters. So I was looking for my happiness outside instead of inside. So it didn't come because, and also I think expected my
Mhm,
husband subconsciously to make me happy. And if he
mhm.
didn't, it was your fault, right? It's your fault. And how ridiculous that is.
Sure,
Nobody can make us happy.
of course, of course.
Definitely.
Well, it's a big realization, isn't it,
Oh,
to
yeah.
to come to that? Absolutely.
And also to admit that I was wrong.
Mhm, mhm. For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Oh, no question. So you're settled in the US, and then you faced some health challenges. So how did that come about?
So the health challenges were actually past my so I was already on my second marriage.
Mhm. Okay.
And I was back then I was working nonstop since I was, my God, from 2001, and it was about 2018, so 17 years in
Mm.
between one relationship which didn't work, bearing 4 children, all these good stuff life gives you.
Yes.
And of course, I want to be a perfect mom. I want to make sure that my kids always look perfectly. I want to make sure my house look clean, doing the party for kids, for having friends over, making sure I look good. I neglected myself. I
Sure.
stopped reading. I stopped doing yoga, which was, by now I know it's what really grounds me. I'm all over the place. So yoga grounds me. So I neglected that. And of course, the blame came. It's your fault. It's your fault. And still, as doing that, I didn't get enough rest. There was a lot of traveling to work. So I got anemia, not anemia. Yeah, I got anemia, IBS. I mean, so I guess this was my body telling me, Karina, you have to slow down.
Yes.
So I thought I took care of it by going to see the doctor, changing my diet. But so I kind of put a little band-aid on it, but never really fully recovered from all of that.
Mhm.
Meaning I didn't slow down, really didn't take the time to deeply look at what's happening and what's causing that. Because I think what's happening in our Eastern medicine,
Mhm.
we all about fixing the problem or
Yes.
fixing the symptoms, but we hardly ever ask, why did he get a cancer? Why does she has a IBS? I am all about the holistic, which I was subconsciously, I was always drawn to it, but you kind of
Mhm.
go with the flow. Everybody goes to
Right.
see the doctor. But at some point I'm like, that's it. I
Sure.
am done with these doctors. I need somebody. I know there's more to that. I know there is the way I feel on the outside, the way I physically feel has something to do with the way I feel emotionally.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So when you think of the all the expectations that we're faced with as we enter the corporate world, motherhood and so on, how do you think that or has it interfered with you talked about losing yourself. So can you connect those two for me a little bit?
Seems like each time when I don't think I ever was losing myself in a work environment. Where
Mhm.
I was losing myself the most was in my relationship with a man.
Ah.
Not even a female, but especially the male, the partner I had with, and expectation and losing. Yes, because I wanted to be that perfect wife he's gonna love. So I wanted to give
Yeah.
him everything because it's expected of me. So I
Mhm.
will give up my walks, which I enjoy, or riding bicycles just because you're my wife, you have to spend time with me. Or
Ah,
the same went to reading.
yeah.
So these are the few examples which I neglected each time. You suddenly, which because I wanted to be loved, and it goes deeper because I wanted to be loved so much. I thought I would do anything to get that love from a person. So I wanted to
Mhm.
fulfill any wish that person had towards me, always be there for him, so he wouldn't stop loving me, also would first start to love me. So it went actually that deep.
Sure.
But also the expectations, when and we have to also remember, but very often the expectations we actually put on ourselves. We assume that the other person expects us to do that and that
Of
and
course.
that and that.
Of course.
So I
Yeah.
think we are our worst enemies when it comes to expectations.
It I've found it so interesting that when I've asked myself the question, when I'm looking at an expectation and I ask, "Well, is that really true?" And a good percentage of the time, it's not true at all. Or if I ask the other person, "This is I believe I'm expected to do this for you or with you or whatever. How do you feel about that? Is that a thing?" And half the time I say, "No, no, 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 no. I don't expect that." And I, "Really?" And so it's a big surprise to realize that we're often the authors of our own misery
Yeah,
because or our suffering because we don't think to check. And I don't know about you, but I didn't get a lot of what I would call solid communication skills growing up. That I didn't know how to do life. And so we stumble and bumble and make mistakes and it's I think it's often in the reflection,
I
the
agree.
looking back. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think even when I was growing up, it was more about survival to make sure that there is still, I have something to put on the clothing, but I have enough clothing to put on myself, but there's enough food.
Yeah,
So the parents were all about how they make money. So she does have it. And so there were really no, yeah, there was, now I think we're more mindful what we're teaching our children. Also, we're mindful of ourselves. But when I think about the world, how it evolved only 100 years ago, 100 years ago, which was what, almost the Great Depression in America,
that's right.
people
Yeah,
were fighting to survive. I mean, they really wanted to survive. Look how much we evolved. So nobody would do, I mean, some did care, but mostly people really wanted to survive.
absolutely, absolutely.
Oh,
And yeah, and we see in the generations
yeah.
the rules that came down or this is how you do this because of that need for survival and different from well we don't care if you're happy or not just get to work. Happiness doesn't enter the equation. There's no time for happiness. Get the job done here. And
Yes, exactly.
it seems harsh now when we look at it
Yeah.
from our perspective, but their sacrifices certainly have enabled us to be where we are now. And so that they did what they knew how to do and well, here we are standing. And if they had said, well, I don't feel that fulfilled and I don't feel like working today or whatever, well, no work, no eat was a lot of the the rules in those days. So,
Yeah, and when you're talking about, when I was leaving to America, I went to say bye to my grandma, and she was back then after the stroke, really closer to the death. And she's like, "Wow, your grandfather fought in the Second World War, so we have an independent um, um, country,
yeah.
and you're leaving now." I felt so guilty. I
Oh,
was like,
I bet.
"She's right.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
right." So it was very rough, but yeah.
Well, and so it takes a great deal of courage to
Yeah.
go in the face of that, knowing that there's lots of your loved ones have sacrificed so that you can have a better life in your own country, and then you say, "Well, actually, I'm moving." So,
Yeah, so this sentence was with me forever. Now I look at it a little bit different.
mhm.
Poland will be always in my heart, and I believe
Yes,
I
of
will
course.
have my place there at some point. But right
Yeah.
now, something brought me here.
Mhm.
Destiny. Simple.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
destined.
Well, that's right, and when we embrace that, then things open up that we never anticipated before, and
Yeah.
and and who's to say how life would have turned out if you had stayed in Poland? I mean, nobody knows really, but here you are. Oh, that's wonderful. So, when you think about so you mentioned that you had some health challenges, and I think the vast majority of us go the traditional Western route and you're right, it's a lot about symptoms and or I have these symptoms, so how can I treat these symptoms when I certainly believe as you do that in the holistic scheme of things, there's emotional, mental, and spiritual components to all of that that are often discounted or not put into the equation. So when you were going through the kind of the worst of the health challenges, what was the shift? What happened to get you thinking about the mindset shift from, well, if there's any possibility that I created this misery I'm in, can I recreate into something way better?
When my anemia returned year later, I got the first time 2021 really severe one, and it returned. And right after that, I got the Lyme disease. I'm like, what it's happening? And then I was tired, all the symptoms, and I wasn't happy where I was. I'm like, I'm done. Something has to change. I want to be content with my life. I don't even want to use the word happy. I want to be content. And my best friend, which was into holistic medicine for decades back then, she's like, okay, maybe you are ready to reach out to this and that person. I think you would align and maybe she would help you. And somehow I did, and waiting for a month to have my first session, I was just so anxious because I wanted to have it done like now. I'm ready, so let's do something. But
Right.
then with it, and the first months were very intense. We're meeting every week, and we're opening a lot of deep wounds, and there was reflection after reflection after reflection. But my biggest reflection, and it's what I really now when I try to preach anywhere and everywhere, it's like we are the creators of our lives, and it starts with one thought at a time.
Yeah.
The minute you change your thinking, just a one thought, your life may start to change. It may not seem such a huge difference first, but the things will slowly shift. And you may wake up one day saying, wow, I didn't think when I woke up this morning about what happened 10 years ago. I actually woke up with having a smile on my face.
Hmm.
And so for me, it was slowly becoming mindful of what I think. You're really starting with, so first realizing my thoughts. So then I start to be mindful what I think and how I think
Hmm.
about myself. I think the most important. The most important is part to start thinking about how you think and talk to yourself. I'm also a big
Yes.
believer that you cannot love. I heard it for decades in my 20s. You cannot love anybody else until you love yourself. Bullshit, bullshit. Sorry,
Hear
but
you.
it is truth because
Yeah, it is.
our action towards others reflect how we treat ourselves. I was even journaling about it this morning. I turned to journal a lot lately in the mornings, and it's like no wonder I always say no to my kids when I just told myself no to something. It starts with me. I'm like, and I actually realized how often I say no to myself. I mean, don't say it as think about it as something really big, but I wanted to have my latte before I have my morning journaling. And I'm like, no. But I'm like, but I want it. I really enjoy that. Why I cannot give myself that little pleasure? So
Exactly.
it's like, but this is where my journey of transition, of growing, of becoming a different person started. And so I am definitely a different person now, 2026, when I was back in 2021 when I started really deeper transformation,
Sure.
taking care of myself.
Yeah. Wonderful. Isn't that's exciting, really. And a huge boost for anyone who is still stuck in the whole idea that, well, no, it's about I I don't even think about myself, never mind know if I love myself, and the second we get that realization and realize, "Well, what would happen if I actually love myself?"
So the problem you may encounter here, you or listener, whoever, very often people look at the self-care as being selfish. I even deal with that in my environment. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, for people who don't believe in a self-care, we're gonna look selfish and we're gonna hear we are selfish. And it's up to us. Are we gonna go down with whatever everybody else thinks?
Yeah,
Or we gonna stay true to ourselves and take care of ourselves despite what everybody says? And this was the hardest part for me because I heard left and right, you're selfish, you're selfish. Even I heard that me writing the book, it's selfish. Why did you write it? Because
yeah,
I needed it. Why was it a memoir? Because I needed to get it out of me, because I believe I can inspire somebody else to better their life. That's why.
exactly. Yes,
So
absolutely, absolutely. So you had, this idea at one point to write, and obviously you were successful at that because just hold up your book for us so we can have a look at the cover. I love the cover of it. So this
okay.
book is called Karina, One Woman's Journey from Fear to Freedom, which is a such an interesting subtitle because when we think about the fear, so tell us a little bit about how that fear prevented you from feeling free.
First of all, the way I see freedom now, it's different than even when I published the book. This is
Ah,
very important. The meaning of freedom changes from day to day.
mhm,
But how that the fear kept me stuck? Because I believed I have to be certain way, because I believe I cannot do certain things, but I cannot even think certain way. I wasn't really myself.
mhm,
No, you shouldn't be going to Poland this year because there is a war, but I would like to. And I believe things will be fine. So it's like, so the fear of upsetting somebody, of not fulfilling somebody's expectations or my expectation kept me
mhm.
of fear of failure. I mean, how
Yes.
many both I had, even with the book. Who do I think I am writing a book? I mean, what an idea. Are you crazy? You're gonna fail. So, by now, and so it was really, and it's still everyday journey. This is just the beginning of discovering who I am and stepping out of my comfort zone and uh, facing all the fears. So every day it's still for me a challenge there. And I believe that we all live with some kind of fear in us every day. And our job is to do the things we love
Yes.
despite the fear, because this is how we grow. And as one of the I'm yogi, I'm yoga teacher by now. And one of the yoga wisdom is when I learn about discipline, you stay in the fire, wait for the blessing, despite anything which is happening for you.
Mhm,
There might be fear, there might be confusion, something else. Just stay with that. Good things will happen. And by now, the freedom, it's just being me, being able to
mhm.
speak to you, to
Sure.
tell you how I feel and feeling good about it, not being anxious what somebody else would say. And which was also a transition, because like I said, there was many questions. Why do you write? Why do I have a need to write? So
Yes.
because I do.
Mhm.
Simple. So
Yes.
it's a good feeling to feel light and being able to smile internally when I tell you that, this is my
Yes.
freedom, and it feels wonderful. But there is also fear. So I don't want the listener to get confused. I believe the fear will be always there. Always.
Mm,
Just
mhm.
maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
And we need that. We need that. Otherwise, we wouldn't grow.
Well, oh, absolutely, and how do we know that we're not in our comfort zone, that we're out of our comfort zone if there isn't that sensation of, ooh, even if it's just slight discomfort, but
Exactly. Yeah.
the I like to talk about we have love on one side and we have fear on the other. Well, of course, it's all too easy in the way our kind of our monkey minds work to allow fear to rule. And so my question is always, well, am I going to let fear stop me from doing what I most want to do? Even if it makes me uncomfortable to get into it, because let's face it, anytime we start a new venture, you're starting your book for the very first time. When I started my first book, same thing. I'm going, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I feel compelled to
Yeah.
write it. And so there were lots of days when I'm going, oh, how am I ever going to even finish this? And but it's that persistence, that perseverance, and in spite of the fear, in spite of the discomfort, we keep going. I mean, the messiest part is right in the middle.
Yeah.
So then we persist, and then voila, here we have this amazing creation, and we did it. And
Yeah.
so it's something that, and to your point about people thinking you're selfish to write your story and write your memoir. Well, I like to point out to people that the opposite of the word selfish is selfless. And I'm going, does that mean that if I'm selfless, I don't exist? And that scared me more than being selfish, quite honestly. And I looked at it and I thought, no, 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 no. In my old personal growth days, we had an instructor who said, he said, selfish is wonderful. Greedy is the result of not looking after yourself enough. So when you look at greedy people in the world, it's often because they've denied themselves so often, and the stress builds up to the point where, okay, now it's my turn.
Oh, interesting. Wow. I love his view.
Isn't that an interesting perspective?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because when you don't take care of yourself, then you're starving. Then when you see something in front of you, just wanna take it all.
absolutely.
And in
Absolutely.
and also, like when you don't love yourself, going back to the love, really, how can you love somebody with all these flaws, all the things you don't like about them?
Yep.
When you don't love yourself with all the things. Number one, sometimes we're actually not aware of the things we don't like above our shadow. I think it's called shadow.
Yes.
We don't
Yes.
like that. We have
Exactly.
to figure out what it is, accept that,
Yep.
and like, I love you with all the other mess you bring with you. And then you can love the other person because you know what? If
Yes.
I love myself, I can love him too. I can live with that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And often, the things we don't like in other people are the things that we really don't like in ourselves, and so it got pointed out to us, and we're going,
Exact
"Oh,
mirroring.
I
Yep.
didn't wanna look at that."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, it's life is just so fun, really, when we look at all the adventures we have and the twists and turns and the ups and downs. It's pretty amazing.
But they are meant for us to grow. I look at that everything comes our way for a reason.
Yes.
We don't like the pain, but
Nope.
it's there for us and sometimes it comes back because we didn't learn from that first lesson. So it
Yes.
comes back to us, but it's all
Yes.
there for a reason.
So let me ask you a couple of final questions. One would be, what do you think were the gifts that came out of all of the challenges that you've had, the twisty turns and the unhappiness that resulted? What would you say were some gifts?
Oh, this is a very interesting question. Nobody asked me before, and I love it.
Ah,
You know what? Over transition, I came back to myself and I
ah,
realized that I was never that bad, but I'm a wonderful human being. So I had to become somebody else to realize that who I really was at the beginning was just good enough, number one. So it's that gift. And I mean, the lesson I knew all along couple of decades ago that happiness really starts within and that
yes,
only I can make myself happy.
sure.
And I think that the biggest blessing and it's really my tagline and also something I would like to remind readers that we are the creators of our life and it starts with one thought. And
Hmm.
with one thought, one day at a time, we can change our life. And it's not easy. It's a lifelong journey
Yes.
but we may be surprised how suddenly once you stop thinking about yourself certain way, different people start to come into your life. Synchronicities. Even last weekend, we went to see my mother-in-law with the kids and my husband. And, so wanted to go out for dinner. I'm like, I want to go to a restaurant. I don't want to make reservation like I always do. I just want to be spontaneous, but I want to be on the water, have a view of the water.
Hmm.
So the last minute we decided we're not gonna go to the Jersey Shore. We're just gonna stay local. But somehow went to the restaurant, which was a little bay, without asking because my husband said, "Stay busy. You keep your mouth shut. Don't ask about any table like I always do.
Yeah.
Just let them lead us to our table and just accept it." When
Yeah.
I saw the table they gave us, I was speechless. I'm like, how not to believe in synchronicity? I mean, I had a view of the water, trees. I was sitting almost next to the window. The room was warm. Heaven. Just miracles happen. Seriously. I mean, it's like the most recent example, but how not to believe in synchronicity
Yeah.
and but you bring with your words what you want into your life, with your thinking. So think
Yeah.
what you want, say it out loud, and you'll be surprised what you're gonna get. But think about the good things you want in your life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we all have PhDs in manifesting things we didn't want in our lives.
Love it.
So
Absolutely.
so it's time to switch that around and say, "Okay, well, what do I most desire?"
Yeah.
And feel that we're worthy enough and deserving enough to have exactly that.
And I think the belief is the hardest part. I mean,
Yes,
am I okay? I know I want it, but that's really, is there somebody out there who really cares for me that much, but he's gonna get me that? Yes, if you wanna believe and let it happen on his term, not your term, you might be surprised what you're gonna get.
isn't that right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's next for you, Karina?
Well, I love this question a lot. So what's next for me? Creative word in creative world. So I am translating that into the Polish.
Oh,
By
cool.
myself. First, I wanted to do hire somebody, but my mom is like, "You crazy?" So I did a lot of research, a lot of Polish reading, and I'm at chapter 18, and there's a 20 chapters in this book.
Mhm.
So I go slow because it's a different language.
Sure.
But I think I was really scared to translate it because it was becoming a different book because I am a
Ah,
different person when I was 2 years ago. So by
sure.
now I am really excited. So I am
Mhm.
at my first draft right now with that. And realistically, thinking about, but writing is just part of it. Then it's the editing,
Mm.
then it's the other stuff,
Ah,
cover and formatting.
absolutely.
If I can go to Poland with family next summer and have a official book launch, that would be my dream come true. So this is when it comes to that version of my memoir. I am like, I would say about 3/4 done with my poetry book. So I discovered I enjoy reading and also
Mhm.
writing, and I believe I can write poems. So I
Nice.
am started to pile it up already in a document, and I have an intro, working on the closing. So even have a cover in my head. So this is
Yes.
something. So definitely this is just the beginning. But
Mhm.
as we writers know, from the idea to actually hold your book in your hand, it's years, and you really cannot. I tried to push this one. I had a dream to have it done, like, oh my God, 1 year, 2 years. No,
I
it's ready when it's ready. So I'm not gonna put a date on it, but hopefully within the 2 years, maybe year and a half, not sure.
Mhm.
Um, Besides that, disclosure, I'm returning to, because I was stay-at-home mom for a while. I'm
Sure.
returning to office work, which I'm very excited because
Oh,
I'm
lovely.
going back to where I left 5 years ago, and it feels
Mhm.
like coming home. Wonderful people.
Excellent.
And why? Because I know there's more for me to learn, more growth
Mhm.
for me to do,
Sure.
and I believe by now that I will not get lost this time around. That I will stay true to myself,
I
and
I I believe that too. You've
so
come through the battle and you've been victorious, and so it's just to keep being mindful, right?
yes, and I'm also yogi. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe yoga at some point is gonna show up in my books because it's very big
Mhm.
part of me. This is just the beginning as my creative writer. I'm not even sure if I can write fiction because I wrote story, but which is nonfiction. So, but I know it will unfold at the right time, and I trust the
Absolutely.
source.
Yes, yes. Well, isn't that it all boils down to a lot of that, isn't it? That we're part of all of creation, and we're magnificently wired to do where our heart leads us and what we most desire. So
Yes,
good for you for being open to that.
thank you.
So just one last tell our listeners then, Karina, how they can get a hold of you and especially getting a hold of your books.
So the easiest way for the listeners to go to my website, which is kkbiernath, BIERNATH.com. And
Lovely.
right there you can access the book. It can be bought on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, Ingram, somewhere else. The book is also in audiobook form for those who like to listen, like I listen
Oh,
myself.
lovely. Mhm.
Yes, and the book, also ebook, obviously. Also on my website, you have a contact info. I love the old-fashioned way of contact. I love to write. I love to receive letters, though I probably write more. So please feel reach out to me. There's email. All the information are there. They can connect with me on social media as well: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Spotify for podcast, YouTube
Mhm.
as well, and I'm pretty open for any reflections, any contact, why not?
Lovely. Excellent. Well, Karina, it has been an absolute delight to have you on our show. As I mentioned to you off camera, this is my very first interview for Magnify with Sue, and I couldn't have had a more lovely guest to start me off here. So thank you for
Thank
taking
you.
your precious time to join me today. For you, my listeners, my magnificent ones, this completes our episode. Look for in the show notes the website for Karina and for her book. And just remember what she told us, that we need to, if we're going to have some freedom, then it's important to look at our fears and important to not lose ourselves in the whole process, because we are truly magnificent and we deserve to really be all that we are. So until next time, we'll see you later on Magnify with Sue. Now, go be your magnificent selves. My magnificent ones, this is the journey. Moving from fear to self-love, from doubt to inner peace, from hiding to shining. One episode, one conversation, one insight at a time. If you're keen for more, the Magnify with Sue newsletter is a tool you'll love. Week after week, we do this work together. Not as a one-off, not as a nice idea, as a real practice of discovering and embracing the magnificence that you already are. To sign up for this newsletter, join us at magnifywithsue.com.